The 48-hour rule that protects your wealth. It starts with a single notification. Maybe it is 2 in the morning. Your phone lights up the ceiling. You are lying there, half awake, and you see it. A flash sale email with a countdown timer ticking down from 3 minutes. Or maybe it is a brokerage alert showing your portfolio dipped 6% overnight. Or perhaps it is a job posting that promises higher pay but demands a career pivot you are not ready for. Your heart rate jumps, your shoulders tense. There is a quiet, urgent voice in your head that says if you do not act right now, the window closes. You will miss the deal. You will watch the market recover without you. You will regret playing it safe. So you tap, you authorize, you commit, and just like that, the decision is locked in. 48 hours later, the screen is dark. The adrenaline has completely flatlined, and you are left staring at a transaction that suddenly feels heavy. Maybe you bought a gadget you will use twice. Maybe you sold a position at the bottom and locked in a realized loss. Maybe you accepted a role that looks great on paper but drains your cash flow and kills your work-life balance. The pattern never changes. You did not lose ground because you are bad with money. You did not lose because the economy is working against you. You lost because you allowed a temporary emotional spike to override a permanent financial strategy. And that is exactly why we are here. Welcome to Adler Cole. If you are building real net worth, protecting your portfolio, and designing a life that does not depend on a single paycheck, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe because every week we break down the psychological systems and wealth preservation strategies that actually move the needle. Today we are talking about the single most underrated wealth defense tool in personal finance. It is not a tax loophole. It is not a high-yield savings hack. It is a psychological circuit breaker called the 48-hour rule. And once you install it into your decision-making process, you will stop leaking wealth and start compounding it. Let us get real about how most people approach money. The entire personal finance industry is obsessed with offense. We are told to maximize our Roth IRA contributions, side hustle until exhaustion, track every dollar of discretionary spending, and chase the next high-return asset class. And while growing your income matters, there is a silent wealth killer that no spreadsheet can catch and no financial advisor will mention in a standard consultation. It is decision velocity, the speed at which we move our money. The difference between people who quietly build financial independence and people who constantly reset their progress to zero is rarely about how much they earn. It is about how fast they react when emotion spikes. Think about how our nervous system actually works. We are not biologically wired for long-term wealth building or retirement planning. We are wired for immediate threat response and quick resource acquisition. Our ancestors did not need to understand compound interest, asset allocation, or credit utilization ratios. They needed to move fast. If they saw shelter, they took it. If they sensed danger, they ran. That survival circuit kept us alive for millennia. But in modern America, that exact circuit is hijacked by one-click checkout flows, algorithmic urgency triggers, and our own social comparison anxiety. Every time a website shows a limited stock badge, every time a headline screams market correction, every time a peer posts a lifestyle upgrade, your brain registers it as either a rare opportunity or an imminent threat. It floods your system with cortisol and dopamine, your emotional center takes full control, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term planning and risk assessment, gets completely sidelined. This is where the wealth leak begins. We mistake urgency for importance. We confuse excitement for strategy. We tell ourselves we are being decisive, when in reality, we are just being reactive. Think about the last financial move you made that you quietly regretted. Did you give it space? Did you run a quick risk assessment? Probably not. You moved in the heat of the moment, and by the time your nervous system settled, the capital was already deployed. The issue is not that you lack discipline. The issue is that you are trying to fight biology with willpower, and chemistry always wins. Emotions are loud. Logic is quiet. And when your financial foundation is on the line, the loudest signal usually dictates the move. That is exactly why the 48-hour rule exists. It is not about hesitation. It is not about fear-based inaction. It is about installing a psychological firewall between impulse and execution. A mandatory cooling period where your emotional brain resets and your strategic mind can finally run the numbers. Here is the actual protocol. The moment you feel the pull to make any significant financial decision, you pause. You do not commit. You do not reject. You simply state, I will decide in 48 hours. Then you physically step away. You close the tab. You silence the notification. You let time do the analytical work for you. What happens inside that 48-hour window is where the magic occurs. In the first 12 hours, your brain is still riding the chemical wave. You might feel restless, you might rationalize that waiting is costing you. That is completely normal. That is just the dopamine loop trying to drag you back into action. But by hour 24, the manufactured urgency dissolves. The noise fades. You start seeing the decision through actual financial metrics instead of emotional projection. By hour 36 to 48, your logical brain is fully online. You can finally ask the questions that actually protect your net worth. Does this align with my cash flow goals, or is it just dopamine dressed up as progress? What is the true opportunity cost? If I deploy capital here, what am I pulling from my emergency fund, my investment strategy, or my debt payoff timeline? Will this matter in 6 months, or will it be forgotten by next quarter? Let me give you a concrete example. You are scrolling through a home office setup site. You see a premium desk and ergonomic chair package priced at $2,000. The page flashes a low stock warning. Your immediate instinct is to check out before it sells out, but you apply the rule, you step back. 2 days later, you look at your actual workflow. Your current setup handles everything you need. The upgrade would feel good for about 3 weeks, but it would also delay your high-yield savings contributions for 4 months and push back your portfolio rebalancing schedule. The urgency was engineered by a marketing team. The desire was real. The financial necessity was zero. By waiting, you kept $2,000 in your wealth-building pipeline without sacrificing a single productive hour. That is not deprivation. That is capital preservation. But this rule scales far beyond consumer spending. It is a portfolio protection tool. The S&P 500 drops 5% in a single session. Your brokerage dashboard turns red. Panic spikes. Every instinct screams to sell, to stop the bleeding, to protect your principal. But if you enforce the 48-hour pause, your perspective completely shifts. You pull up the historical data. You see that market corrections are a standard feature of long-term compound growth, not a system failure. You remember that selling during volatility locks and permanent losses, while staying aligned with your asset allocation, allows recovery to work in your favor. The fear was real. The threat was temporary. The rule stops you from turning a paper fluctuation into a realized wealth destruction event. It applies to career capital too. You have a brutal week. Leadership pushes back on a project. A promotion cycle gets delayed. You feel undervalued and stagnant. You open your laptop and start blasting out resumes, ready to quit on principle. But if you wait 48 hours, the emotional sting neutralizes. You realize one difficult week does not invalidate your entire career trajectory or your compensation growth path. You see that jumping ship without a vetted offer might solve short-term frustration, but creates long-term income instability and benefits gaps. The rule gives you strategic clarity. It turns reactive resignation into calculated career positioning. Now, let us dig into the behavioral economics of why this works so reliably. Wealth is not primarily accumulated by what you bring in. It is preserved by what you refuse to lose. Most people fixate entirely on offense. They chase higher yields, aggressive growth targets, and rapid income scaling. But in wealth building, defense dictates longevity. A single impulsive capital deployment can erase 6 months of disciplined savings. A panic-driven portfolio shift can wipe out years of tax-advantaged compounding. A rushed career move can reset your retirement timeline by a decade. The 48-hour rule is your financial defense system. It does not promise overnight millionaire status. It guarantees you stop accidentally sabotaging your own progress. There is a well-documented cognitive bias called present bias. It is the human tendency to heavily overweight immediate rewards and severely discount future consequences. Our brains are literally wired to choose a smaller payout today over a larger payout tomorrow. Financial institutions know this. Marketing algorithms exploit it. Your own anxiety reinforces it. The 48-hour rule forcefully breaks that loop. It compels your mind to shift from present bias to future alignment. It gives your future self a seat at the table. When you wait, you are not just delaying a transaction. You are practicing financial sovereignty. You are taking back control of your capital allocation from impulse triggers, targeted advertising, and temporary emotional states. Picture your wealth like a water reservoir. Every month, you pump income into it through your primary job, side revenue, or investment dividends. But the reservoir has micro leaks, impulse purchases, emotional trading, rushed career pivots, subscription bloat, lifestyle inflation. You do not notice them because each drip is small, but over 12 months, they drain the reservoir faster than you can refill it. The 48-hour rule is not about patching leaks with brute force discipline. It is about installing a filtration system at the intake valve. It catches the leaks before they breach your foundation. It converts reactive spending into intentional capital deployment. It transforms financial noise into quiet compounding control. So how do you actually operationalize this in your daily life? It is a 4-step system. Step 1. Acknowledge the trigger. Do not suppress it. Do not judge it. Just label it. Write down or speak out loud, I am feeling the impulse to move capital right now. Step 2, set the hard boundary. Block 48 hours on your calendar. Tell yourself you are fully permitted to execute after that window, not before. Step 3, run the 3-question stress test. First, what is the actual cash flow impact, and does it conflict with my emergency fund or debt payoff schedule? Second, what specific problem does this solve, or is it just filling an emotional gap? Third, will this decision still align with my financial independence roadmap 6 months from now? Keep these questions visible. Step 4, when the window closes, review with cold metrics. If the answer is still a clear yes, move forward with confidence. If the answer is no, walk away cleanly. You did not miss an opportunity. You protected your compounding trajectory. This is not about restriction. It is about strategic alignment. You are not saying no to growth. You are saying yes only to decisions that actively serve your long-term wealth architecture. The rule applies to major purchases, portfolio adjustments, career transitions, and even business investments. It works because it respects how human psychology actually functions under pressure. It does not demand you become a robot. It asks you to remain human, but with a built-in pause mechanism. Here is the reality that most financial content skips over. You do not need perfect market timing to build lasting wealth. You do not need to predict macroeconomic shifts. You do not need a viral side business. You just need to stop executing financial moves in the emotional red zone. Real wealth accumulation is quiet. It is built in the pauses, not the impulses. It compounds in the space between trigger and response. The 48-hour rule is that space. It is the difference between reacting to your money and directing it, between leaking capital and preserving it, between living on financial autopilot and actually steering your net worth trajectory. The next time that notification hits, that deal flashes, that portfolio dips, or that career frustration peaks, remember this. The opportunity will still exist in 2 days. If it is fundamentally sound, it will survive the pause. If it is emotionally driven, the pause will save you from a costly mistake. Your future self is banking on the decisions you make today, but your future self does not want impulsive moves. Your future self wants intentional, metrics-backed choices. Give yourself the gift of time, let the emotion dissipate, let the logic run the numbers. Protect your wealth not by chasing more, but by deciding with precision. Because in the end, the people who win with money are not the ones who move the fastest. They are the ones who know exactly when to pause. If this system shifted how you view your financial decisions, hit subscribe to Adler. We drop weekly breakdowns on wealth psychology, portfolio defense, and cash flow systems that actually scale. Drop a comment below with the one financial trigger you are applying the 48-hour rule to this week. I read every single one, and your insight might shape our next deep dive. Stay strategic, protect your capital, and I will see you in the next one.